This is Dr. Chalmers. Welcome to Wellness Insights with me, Dr. Chalmers. How did I personally encounter the issues we discuss in the talk? I have tons of stress. Like, when you're launching multiple companies, when you're trying to keep people alive, when people text you in the middle of the night and the kids just in a car wrecks and stuff like that, and these kids. There's a lot of kids that I've been working on. I've been doing this for 16 years. Like, there are kids who are driving today that I met when they were born. It's, and I'm not there in their family, but when you work with somebody and you know somebody for 10 or 15 years, you get kind of close to them. So, there's that type of thing. So I love cannabis for the stress relief piece. I've quit drinking alcohol because, take it however you want to. If it helps your life, fantastic. There's too much research for me right now to say that it's worth taking, it's worth consuming. I still do a very little, but as far as stress goes, I'll take a strip, and that is by far my favorite way to go. I personally use it all the time to help with stress, help with pain, that type of thing. So it's a big deal. So what was the reason I gave my 10-year-old son, why did he have the surgery? Because he's my son and he does silly things. And he fell off a merry-go-round and broke his arm. He had to have surgery and had a plate and 6 screws put in his arm. And when he first had it done, we didn't have the strips and we had to give him opioids. And I'm not happy about that. But after he had the surgery, when he had the surgery to have the plate and 6 screws removed, there was no choice. There was no way I was going to give him opioids. So we gave him the strips and it worked just fine. And we talk about it in the TED Talk, so I'll play that clip. But yeah, so that was the reason I'm not giving my kids opioids ever again. Watch Painkiller if you're worried about why. So this is a great question. How did I approach the dilemma of using opioids for my son's pain management? I talk about this a little bit in the TED Talk, so we'll play that clip now. My 10-year-old son had to have surgery to remove a plate and 6 screws from his arm. And I knew it was a big surgery. I knew there was going to be lots of pain, and I was pretty sure they were going to prescribe him opioids, which they did. And so knowing what I know about opioids, what am I supposed to do for my family? Because here's the problem. With these negative side effects, these negative stigmas and these negative opinions, I knew he was going to tell everyone because he's 10. He's going to tell everybody everything. And I knew that his friends were going to have negative opinions and their parents were going to have negative opinions in the school and everybody else. But at the end of the day, that didn't matter. I had to do what was best and safest for my family. So we used the sublingual strips. So every time he would tell me that his arm started to hurt, I'd cut him a little piece and give it to him, and 10 or 15 minutes later, he'd tell me he felt better and he'd be able to go back to reading. And because we were able to dose it out really, really well, I didn't notice any psychological change at all. Basically, he never got high. I was really worried about how everybody was going to think, whatever I was going to think, if I was going to get in trouble. I'm not giving my kids opioids. I'm just not going to do it. And so we gave him the strips. I knew he was going to tell people, which he did. But I'll tell you, man, I was very, very surprised. All of the parents came up to me and were like, that was really smart. They were like, we don't want to give our kids opioids either. And we got to talk about it. And what's funny is that, my kids go to a really amazing small Christian school in the center of Texas. So that's one of those things where you're like, oh, what are people going to think? I really love the school and I really didn't want to have any problems. And everyone's been super cool about it. They were like, that was really smart. It was the best way to go, not giving your kids opioids. And so we got to talk about it. And now all the parents are on board. Now they all understand. They've looked through the research. There's a bunch of docs. There's a bunch of really, really smart people in the school. And we're all kind of on the same page. And so I was wrong to assume that the people around me were just going to think it was bad. And so since then, I've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people, and I have not found anyone who's against the medical use of cannabis. And I've started to look. I'm trying to find somebody who's like, no, we should just use opioids. We should not allow cannabis use by doctors. I'd love to know what their argument is. I just haven't found anybody who actively is saying that doctors shouldn't have access to cannabis. So I think those stereotypes are going to change. We're going to do a whole bunch of stuff on stereotypes in a minute, but that was a big piece for me. I was very, very happy to see the outpouring of support for any alternative to opioids and how little people cared in a negative manner. Lots of them were super positive, but no one really had any negative issues with it. Like, it was really, really refreshing, and I'm really happy about it. If you guys have any questions, hit us up. questions@chalmerswellness.com. Thanks.